thank you all for coming here today. This is a really exciting time for the Royal London Society for Blind People as we move to take blind young people into and beyond the 21st century. It's probably not known to you, but our founder was the person who invented the first form of Braille ever to exist, and it went across the British Empire at the time, and they gave way to Braille because they thought that it was a more common language. You guys are developing the Braille of the future, and we believe that it is through technology that people can be equal. I'm visually impaired myself, but when I'm on the internet or I'm talking through social media, I can be whoever I want to be. I'm not blind. I'm equal to everybody else. And I can express my personality in ways that can be restricted to me because people perhaps want to label it. I want to congratulate IBM on the great breakthrough that they've made on the conversational internet and wish that product great speed. And we really do look forward to working with all of you to get this group together so that together we can not just make a difference to the lives of blind young people, but to the lives of everybody across the world. And you've got the power to do that. Thank you very much for coming today.
To give you some context about why we're here, about a year and a half ago, RSB went through what is known as a rebrand, and that included having a new website. And we asked the people that use our website what did they want from a new website, and did some research. And what came out of that was that they wanted to talk to the internet, not just one way, but have the internet talk back to them in a really easy to understand way. And Dale from IBM will talk a bit more about that project. But what we essentially did was call a meeting like this, and 8 people came, and from that group we created this amazing prototype. And we learned, we made 3 discoveries from that project. The first is that there's a really valuable role for charities to play in transmitting information about the people that they serve to large firms who have the power to make a difference. The second thing that we learned was that many people and many organisations are actually doing very similar things on a large scale and on a small scale, so that we weren't alone, and it's actually an emerging trend. And the third thing that we learned was that there's no real coordination of that kind of activity, such that the potential that it has is not really currently being harnessed. So what we thought a year on, having achieved so much from so few people at the beginning, was to have another meeting and invite more people, and hopefully together we can begin to build that hub whereby big firms and access firms can join together and meet users of all kinds and share ideas, but ultimately build products that work for everybody. Because with that kind of convergence, we have a chance to join groups of people who are actually distinct at the moment, and therefore through technology that works for everybody, we can actually achieve a degree of social inclusion. So that's what today is all about. And what I'd like to do is to invite to the chairs now 2 people. Firstly, Rupert Goodwins, who is the executive editor of ZdNet, and also Damon, who's a senior journalist at the BBC, dealing with accessibility issues, and who I'm also told by my CEO is a writer of poems. We don't have to have poems today. The inception of this whole sort of story really started with listening to the people that we serve and acting on it. So I'd like really for us to start there And I'm going to play a sound file from someone with whom we're in touch and who is actually in this room today. I'd like the panel to respond to it with their thoughts.
As a blind person, I don't want to use some piece of tech that a sighted person has made for blind people. I want to use what sighted people are using and did as I was growing up. I don't want to be left out in the cold when my friends are showing off their new phone, saying how good it is. I want to pull out my Android or iPhone and say, look, I have one too, and mine talks. Making a mobile device for blind people is not the way forward. For us as blind people, having access to the same mobile devices as sighted people is the way forward.
Thank you, Dan. So, Damon, Rupert, how do you respond to what people are saying?
Shall I go first? Yeah. I think what we're touching on here is a kind of stigma about special equipment and things like that. There's a I guess in disability. I look at my dad at the moment, and he's a 65-year-old fella. He's crippled with arthritis, but will he use a walking stick? No. My mate Nathan is very, very visually impaired. You know, can barely see a couple of inches in front of him, but he thinks he can get by, you know, without a white cane. He doesn't want to use a white cane because it makes him look a bit different, makes him stand out. I don't think he's really thought through the fact that he, he's ducking and diving and dodging people in the street also makes him stand out. But the fact that he didn't use a white cane led him to getting run over. He was walking down a road in Sevenoaks one day. He suddenly heard a car coming towards him as he was crossing the road. He had the presence of forethought to jump into the air so that the bonnet didn't get his legs. His backside went through the windscreen. He ended up going way somersaulting over the top of the car and landing in the road behind the car, all because he didn't want to use a white stick. And then this week, if we think about technology, I have a note-taking device, which I regularly used to take into meetings and things until somebody told me it looked a bit like a speak and spell machine. So I stopped using it. And the reason why it looked a bit like a speak and spell machine, I guess, is because of the high contrast, high visibility, different coloured bits and bobs and buttons and things on it. In fact, it did look like special equipment. So there's loads of reasons why people want to have regular technology. They don't want to class themselves as special. If you lose your sight, for instance, you don't immediately want to start belonging to a group of people. Or again, if you become disabled, you don't think of yourself as disabled. I mean, I spent years. I lost my sight at 13. I spent years saying, "But I used to be able to see." In my head, that was me saying, "So I am better than everybody else." And it's a complex thing, sort of dealing with disability and being different and accepting difference and things.
Yes, I am actually the interesting position of having been a technology journalist for 20 years and lost a large part of my sight this year. So I've always been surrounded by gadgets and gizmos and used to access information. And suddenly, although I've been written about accessibility issues in the past, from the viewpoint of a sighted person, thinking most about technologies, being somebody who now sort of relies upon them himself, and it's a very different world. In some ways, I think that there is a flowering of technologies that are mainstream technologies that are profoundly useful to the visually impaired. My tablet here, which is a very cool Android Nexus 10, has got a camera in it, and I can scan in a book in about 20 minutes and then enlarge it on the screen and read it as if I was using a sort of television book reading screen, and that's all entirely standard that comes with it. So whereas before I got this, I couldn't read books. I had to scan them in all sorts of terrible ways. I had stopped reading books. Now I can capture them, and they're with me. They're portable. It's fabulous. And this is a 300 quid device, which anyone can use, and is also profoundly cool. So I'm very that sort of thing. There will always be things at the edge of what sighted people use, what people who aren't so sighted use, where that's the area where innovations can happen. So one of the things I think was good about developing technologies that are specifically for impaired people are they encourage the designers to think in different ways, to explore different mechanisms of use of data absorption and creating data, and that feeds back into the mainstream. So I think not only is it good that this sort of thing happens, and now it's much easier to use standard, really quite technical technology to cope with disabilities, but to encourage companies to see the challenge of making them work even better for people with even more difficulties should make the companies think that this is a very good form of basic research. That the advanced forms of machinery or techniques for helping with really severe problems are stigmatic. I don't think it's ever going to go away. However good you make this stuff, there's always going to be people outside that sphere who need special attention, who need things that will knock them out. And I'm afraid that's something we have to live with. The job of pushing out, absorbing that stuff into the mainstream, is a job that should be taken very seriously. And that's why I think a big effort in making the standard stuff, the special stuff, and the standard stuff better, should be seen and should be promoted as a very good way for companies and developers to go.
Thank you very much. Dave, it's interesting the point that you made about the speak and spell machine. How difficult do you think it would have been for the same underlying technology in that device to have been made more beautiful, for example?
It had to be made more beautiful. That's a very good thing. I guess, I mean, that's where we're on to a design point, isn't it? If we're looking at people wanting to embrace assistive technology, then people would perhaps want to think about designing things a little better. But many people know that the buzzwords are when it comes to assistive technology, people seem to be moving away from this very, very expensive, very, very expensive assistive technology. A lot of it's great, and couldn't be replaced because I'm a very big user of Braille, soft Braille devices. So that's something that I don't think could easily be replaced with a chip. We're seeing iPhones that talk, we're seeing all sorts of other things that talk. But I think moving towards a technology that everybody can use is obviously a very important way forward. I was very, very excited last night when I discovered there was an app that for the first time would allow me to look at what television programs I've recorded on my Sky Plus box. It seems ridiculous, and I was saying to my girlfriend, "Wow, you've got to use this app, it's absolutely fantastic, you can see what's on the telly, I can record it, I can do whatever, I can watch what I want now." And she was saying, "But I've been doing that for years and years and years." And she wasn't quite as excited as I was on that level. And I've, again with my iPhone. The great thing about an iPhone, the great thing about these things with apps is that it looks like a standard bit of kit. It's the same bit of stuff that everybody else uses, and it's mass manufactured, and the costs are very, very low as a result of that. And but some of the apps are a bit different. I've got an app, for instance. I can't see anything anymore. And about a year ago, my little boy, I put him to bed, and he kept shouting. Daddy just wasn't going to sleep that night, and he kept shouting, "Daddy, Daddy!" And then he kept coming down the stairs. And it wasn't until my partner went upstairs that she realised that I'd left his light on, and I didn't know this is why. And so, I can now download a light detector app, which buzzes at me now, which I can use on those occasions when I don't know whether the light's on. Also, I've got a very unusual television as well. It's just really slightly badly designed. I don't know whether it's on or off. It's a really, it's a very well-known television, the Sony television. But I can't always tell whether it's on or off, and so I have to pull out my light detector.
So do you think that a lot of the access technology that's out there exists because of the failure in the mainstream market?
It exists to fill a gap, doesn't it? A lot of it exists because nothing else has existed. People haven't thought about it previously. Perhaps there wasn't a great way of producing it in a mass way, but probably a lot of it is to do with just not thinking or being a little bit too frightened of doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing when it comes to these companies designing things. There's a very huge fear factor, I know. So I don't know if people in the room here have been just that little bit anxious. If you're a developer, have you ever been a bit anxious about, going down this road and thinking, oh, but what if I do the wrong thing? What if I create the wrong thing? And sometimes it's just something as simple as that that can stop, innovations happening.
Rupert Goodwins.
Yes, just a quick question. Could your speak and spell machine now be an app?
No.
No.
Well, it's sort of good. Well, because it's my speak and spell machine was like that for ages. So you've always got this thing when people like me, one of the 18,000 people in the country that uses Braille, is going to want to use Braille, and I'm slightly obsessed with the stuff because I grew up in that system.
Yeah, well, 80,000 people is much the market for manufacturer, but worldwide there is. The sort of haptic technologies that could provide Braille interface to a smartphone, that could come along, so perhaps it will. But one of the great things about what I think smartphones and mobile phones and the whole app culture is so intensely interesting at the moment for visually impaired, is that if anyone wants to make the light detector for you in the past, they'd have to build it, have to manufacture it, find you, distribute it to you, and that would take a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of people. Now, if I sit down by myself, because I need the light detector, and write my own software, turn it into an app, which is quite doable, and put it on the internet, then it's just me and you, there's nothing between us. Everyone who wants one can get one. And it's this process of allowing people who really understand the problems to develop them themselves, or directly influence, to talk to people directly who are developing stuff, and then a free way to distribute the results to everyone. That has to, suddenly a disparate market of 18,000 people in one country, 20,000 people in another, becomes a mass market, everyone on the internet. So I think we're right at the point of inflection where the sense of the impaired a special case, no, it's no longer a set of small villages, it's a whole country, and that's going to have a really interesting effect on commercial companies' approach to it. And if that can be encouraged to be seen as a mass market, then we'll get a long way really quite quickly.
For me, being able to have an iPhone and talk to my mates about the latest stuff, and saying, I've got an iPhone, making it look quite cool, is quite important, because on a social level, being able to use the technology that everybody else uses is quite important. Like, as much as a Braille note is very useful and so on, you always have to take it out and everybody's like, what on earth is that? And everybody crowds around and is incredibly curious about what it is and have to explain it all and whatever. But if you have technology and companies that really care about designing it, it's great because it includes you socially. And also, gone are the days where this is a niche market. The market is growing quite a lot. And basically it's such a good and important thing to carry on.
Simon, Fast-Moving Phones. Picking up on comments about Finster stigmatising and thinking about Finster patronising. If you hide them, they'll carry on being stigmatising, patronising. If you're sort of loud and proud, then no one feels stigmatised by wearing glasses, they do about wearing hearing aids. So it's a matter of attitude rather than a matter of the product.
Well, it's incredibly difficult, isn't it? Different people accept and embrace disability at very different levels. Some people are really out and proud, for instance, hey, I'm a blind man, and are really sort of, unfortunately, we all know those characters, and they embrace everything about it, and they sit down and they learn their Braille, they'll take their white cane, and they'll just be who they are. It's a personality thing, it's a very different personality led thing, and it's difficult to ask people, I think, to just get on with it and accept the accoutrements and technology that comes with being blind, because I guess there doesn't have to any longer. There doesn't really have to be any one set of things that comes with being blind. Blind doesn't equal Braille anymore, seemingly, which is interesting. A lot of people would take me to task on that and have a very long discussion with me about it, because a lot of people are moving towards computers. much easier to get into, and everyone uses computers, and people would rather use computers than learn this special, rather difficult dotty language.
I'll just say that it's going to be both sorts of people. There are people who dress in black and people who dress in polka dots. And we have to support the diversity of the way people are and feel comfortable within the impaired world. When I was a kid, I used to walk around town with homemade two-way radios in biscuits strapped to my back and well, two headphones on. You know, I didn't like showing off with weird technology, so nothing like this fazed me at all. You know, my sister would have rather died than come anywhere near me at that point. So it continues, I'm afraid to say. So when you think about this, I think does illustrate an important point sometimes overlooked, is that there's no one solution that's right for everyone. There is no one blind person, there's no one visually impaired person for whom a solution will work. And to recognise that variety and to allow for it to go with it, if possible, even use it to the advantage of the designs and things we build, has to be the most aware and important and practical way of moving the field forward. So it's a very important thing to remember.
I've got to say as well, just one last thing, I'd just like to include this in some of it. It's a tiny bit bittersweet, the discussion about, you know, assistive technology perhaps is something we should be moving away from. Because let's not forget there's an awful lot of visually impaired and disabled people out there who work in that industry, and for whom, you know, if the rest of us chose to embrace another kind of technology, they would be jobless. So I think, you know, the assistive tech companies seem to be thinking on their feet and seem to be moving and also embracing this technology and creating apps and software and training around it. So that's something that I wouldn't want to forget.